Yeah, you know.
Hey, but move again. I had that set up on the end there.
You know,
I set that table at the end here when we set up the.
Do you want it there?
You wanted it there.
I don't care. Mark, you want it there?
They move, I mean, it's all moved this way some so that you could set it there.
Trying to ask me and I told him to surprise him.
Well, I'm surprised because it's back over here. I don't know. They didn't have the feet adjusted, so I don't know which way was which to get it level. but-
Anything about it.
Turn it around. Yeah. It wasn't perfect because this other one is a little bit bold.
Those
yeah, you too.
Oh.
The second tier.
Oh.
Planning ahead.
Two of these. So Wednesday and that one Tuesday. I think the Wednesday one, we're gonna be you three, and then the next Tuesday was gonna be you and us, right? You signed up.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
You did.
You can work that out if you don't want it that way.
Good morning, how are you? Weekend? Then. You were, yeah, some.
Yeah.
I think it's a hybrid.
Okay.
I think it's a live signature.
It's 9:30. All those that so choose, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All meetings with everyone present. As a reminder, the meeting is being recorded. If you choose not to be recorded, you have the option of leaving. First item on the agenda this morning, Mike Kueny, our county engineer.
All right,
All yours, Mike.
a lot of the same stuff from last week. Build grant, we'll hear about more stuff in January, hopefully. Railroad Black Card Bridge Day, there's nothing new this week. Subdivision data, I met with Farmer, I met with Denko the week before. We're gonna come up with some ideas perhaps on what we should be doing out there. And then ultimately we'll have to figure out with the HOAs and other entities if they want to piggyback on our operations out there at some point. So, Corey Hill, county attorney, is a draft plan. He sent that to me late Friday. I'll go through it this week. Misty Valley, the Conservation Board will get back to me on whether or not we are going to need to mulch it through the winter. We installed one culvert east of W20. It was on a gravel portion of A14, and then we're looking at asphalt patching the culverts east of Hesper that we took out earlier in the year. And then this week we're looking at doing a culvert under B16 west of Spillville. Looking to have that all done hopefully Friday. We might need some overtime to get that done. So Durapatcher is we're no longer using it this year. They're no longer selling the emulsion that we use for that machine. Burlington is looking to pay the second half of Bridge 208E this week. They paved the east side earlier this week. Bridge 126, NEPA clearances have been completed and will likely be let in January. Frankville Road, I just received all the signatures on there. Thank you. And I've got some small notes to change, and we'll be sending it out today. And then we are looking for a new sign man. 2 applications were received last week. That is the report. Any questions?
Yeah, culvert, that road will be open this week or?
The culvert on A14, that's open. I checked it this weekend, so that is done. It was a gravel road, and they actually we got a faulty end section, but that was figured out. So
How long are we taking applications for that position?
it'll run through the end of this week. It's 2 weeks because it's all, and then we'll have to start doing interviews.
That's all you got for us?
That is it. It's been, is that?
Easy morning.
It was an easy morning, yes. It's been a lot of upkeep. I will probably I took a vacation day on Friday, and then I will probably be leaving early today. My brother's going to Mayo, so I'm going to go see him.
Were those applications outside?
They came in on Friday, so I haven't had a chance to look at them. And
No one internal took the job.
correct. So and the internal was offered the week prior, so.
Does anyone have anything else for Mike?
No.
Thank you, Mike. Consent agenda?
Yeah, I've got the minutes, the claims, and the recorder's monthly report.
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? None, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. Any reports?
Historic Commission met Saturday. We have one appointment. Three positions will be terming out at the end of December. Two of those that have been on the board for quite a while want to remain. One Roger has decided to just go ahead and retire again. And so there is one.
This one?
So there is one young lady who has applied, who I think is probably an excellent candidate. Just recently out of Luther College, excited about historic preservation, and it'd be nice to have a young face on the board.
Yeah. I'm planning to soon be putting an ad in the newspaper to get for all the openings. And it'll usually by mid-December, then it'll be making the appointments so they can start in January.
This was the last meeting of the year for them. They don't have a December meeting typically. But wanted to make sure out of the three that were terming out what their particular interests were. We don't get a lot of volunteers from historic preservation.
We've got a regional workshop this week on Wednesday. I know some people can go and some people are doing the canvas for the voting. So that is Wednesday, November 12th.
Landfill meeting tonight?
Tonight at 5. Who's Mark and Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're all able to go.
Couple short.
Got policy board Thursday at 11 and health board Wednesday at 3:30.
And speaking of the health board, I attended that health board advisory committee meeting last week. And they had a lady from the state of Iowa, Health and Human Services, that went through this process of what the health board is going to undertake. And it is kind of a lengthy process. It's supposed to take 3 to 6 months for this process to go through. The gal that was putting on the presentation has finished with Buchanan County with their process and is currently working with 20 other counties. So there is some detail here and I can get this out to you, but I mean, the first step was the introductory meeting, which is 30 minutes. And then the next one is a 2.5-hour mission, visions and values workshop, and then a 2-hour workshop, an hour. So it is a lengthy process. So if you guys want any more information on that, I can give it to you, or Kristen would have that. Had county conservation board meeting. We have a new hire in the county conservation to help with the office work, Becca, and she came from Key County, so she does have some experience. We acted on the reservation system for campgrounds, and we're going with mycountyparks.com is what we decided to go with. It's initial $1,000 cost, but you know, after that, it's just yearly.
Does that particular software have payment collection?
Yes, we're looking through that. Set up a credit card thing.
When I set up the Stillville campground with a company out of Canada for small campgrounds. And that was the main thing, was looking for the payment option.
And then mycountyparks.com, it's kind of an interesting site if you go on there. It gives you the campgrounds and then it'll give you things to do in the area, stuff like that. So it's kind of nice. And that could take up to 6 months. So we kind of acted on that so we can get it going right away.
Good idea.
You know, the start of next year. So Got a grant check of $12,364. And that's always used for grant matches. Usually Barb will add those together to get a certain amount where you can actually contribute to a sizable grant. And that forest resiliency grant should know by mid-December whether we get that or not. And that's about all I got.
I attended
Yeah.
the WinMed board meeting last Wednesday. It was interesting. It was just a recap of their finances, a little more depth than they did here, which was nice to hear. But they also gave a good report of their physical therapy department, and the amount of services that they offer to the community, which is significant. And they have 60 employees within that department. And they are, I mean, what we did as a board presentation last week, I think it was, 2 weeks or 2 weeks ago, was very good. But boy, we are really fortunate to have WinMed here in this county and the directions that they're taking overall.
There was an early childhood Iowa meeting on Friday, 3-hour meeting for the state board, which I've attended since the Hawk is a sub layer of that. There was a lot of back and forth and discussion and lawmakers who said they shouldn't vote for the consolidation as it is. And it was kind of the comments afterwards were not very favorable of the meeting and what happened and how it was organized. So part of it started with the bylaws say that it has to be published 5 days in advance, and it was only 4 days in advance. And so are we gonna circumvent our own bylaws or not, even though the state says it's 2 days, I think. So that started it off on a bad note and it went south from there probably. So to be continued on, well, but it goes back to people don't want to be consolidated into larger groups because they feel like regionally they have specific issues that they can deal with better rather than from one state command, basically. So kind of the way of the state right now, but it was a lot of infighting going on, which was okay, but good.
How many people were there?
I don't know, most people were virtual, but I
Oh.
saw a room full of people that were in attendance.
Mhm.
It was in Des Moines, so.
Those slides from public health after them.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing, our holiday schedule, are we gonna meet that Monday between Christmas and New Year's?
We usually don't.
We usually don't unless you have something.
When are we gonna make that decision? Or-
You can decide that now if you want, but
Which date?
Typically, it's
29.
December.
kind of already had it crossed off. I figured you weren't going to, but it doesn't mean you couldn't.
Yeah,
And it's a 5th Monday, so that makes it even less important because we'd be doing claims on the 22nd anyway.
Well, maybe we could just tentatively
Yeah.
say we're not gonna have it, but something comes up with importance, then we can. All right, it's 9:45. Next item's on the agenda. We have a few miscellaneous items, first of which is the farmland lease bids reject.
So I got one bid. It's not open and I don't recommend opening it since you've already advertised to re-bid it. So Andy said we should still reject the one bid we got just to, so they can, and I've already contacted them and let them know.
They gotta
The
redo it.
rebid, yeah.
I motion to reject the bid.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to reject the farmland lease bid. Any further discussion?
And the only reason of that is because we're
We're changing the lease
changing the lease
structure.
structure. Do it yearly instead of, it's a 3-year, but yearly in the, within the 3-year deal.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next up, we adopt the public records policy.
And so Andy sent this out for you to review. And
It's what Andy's been working on for
a couple months,
a couple of months.
I had no changes to it.
working with the state uh, Public Information Board. It's a resolution to adopt the policy.
Will this be available on our website in your department
We can put it on the website, yeah.
under auditor?
Yeah.
Okay,
I would think that'd be the best
Yeah.
place for it.
I would make one recommendation, perhaps we add separate policies. The state already tells us that a new person is going to be required to go through this training. But I think we should establish a policy that all existing board members and or any commissions are required to attend the same training. Otherwise, we're pretty loose. We may find that if we were to search deeper, we may find that we have some people misunderstand how to deal with public information. So I would recommend that we have a separate policy that would add this to it, not necessarily add to this particular one, because this is basically a one-time.
Yeah, this is
Going
the-
forward.
This is the public
Records request policy, whereas you're talking about
Oh,
I'm talking about the
We're talking open meetings.
Open meeting.
public records training.
following in the same.
And that may not be a bad idea.
No,
Yeah, I think
that's what
But
I said too, is
I think it'd be good if we decided we all would just, it's a countywide meeting that people should just attend and bring in somebody to a presentation. So we all get that.
Well, see what, that may be fine if we get everybody together, but we may have, maybe the IPIB will come up with a tool that we can say, okay, here, you go through this.
through the portal.
And I think we need to be able to then have the record tracking of it.
Is there a motion on the table to
No.
approve this? I move to adopt the public records policy.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the public record request policy. Is there any further discussion? This is the resolutions.
Aye.
Shirley?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I also passes unanimously.
And you can find it on the auditor's webpage, the auditor's link
Yep.
on our webpage soon.
As I say,
Not right yet.
Not immediately, but soon.
last miscellaneous items to discuss ISAC Amicus Brief and possible funding.
And Shirley requested this to be on the agenda.
I didn't bring it with me. They're asking for our support. Can you remind me, Ben?
They were asking for $500 if you're willing to put towards the,
That's in support of the
Like a legal-
county's pipeline things.
Yes,
legal
so
defense.
we're not involved as a county with the pipelines, but the pipelines are affecting many, many, many counties in Iowa. And they're trying to fight the eminent domain in the state of Iowa that took farmland away from farmers, and they're asking for other counties to join them in the fight against this ruling. So whether we donate the $500, give the $500 to help pay for legal fees, help in that fight or not, I think at the very least, a letter in our support of the counties who are trying to fight eminent domain.
I think historically, the eminent domain has been one of the most abused portions of the Constitution.
This is for a private pipeline company.
I know
It's
what I
not.
mean.
Yep.
That's the abuse
Right.
of public use for
And,
domain, eminent domain.
and ISAC's position on this is not related to the pipeline per se. It's related to county keeping local control.
Right.
That's the way they're
Framing it.
their brief that they're filing with the court in support of the county that's having the pipeline issue, but their brief is supposed to be, we want to maintain county
County
control,
control.
not specifically taking a side to this issue, but the counties as a whole want to keep that control. And I don't know that you have to decide today, but it is something that they request and to consider, so.
Yeah, I think I would like to read through that again. I just kind of scanned through it.
So on Monday's agenda.
Yeah, that's fine. Not that I'm against it.
No.
No, I know. Yeah.
Just get a little more educated on it.
And I didn't bring it today. I'm sorry.
On a side related issue, we talked about it before, but it was in the front page of the county news thing last week about data centers. And we talked about, does our planning and zoning have a policy about that?
You brought it up to Tony one time too. Did he say they were working on it or they were knew that it was something they should be thinking
No, I
of?
mean, I just want to make sure that it's being talked about, so if there's something in place in case that, I'm not saying we shouldn't have a data center, but there needs to be some guidelines, and somebody had made mention that Fillmore County is having one up by Harmony, which would affect the groundwater here if they decide to cool it with groundwater or air. So anyway, it's getting closer to home, and because that was the one where My Energy had said they wanted to find a data center within their grid to keep prices down. So maybe that's one they're looking at. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, does somebody want to check with Tony or you want me to ask him or when do you want to ask if they?
Yeah, he wasn't in.
He wasn't in
Morning,
today.
but
I can follow through on it if you'd like me
we
to.
can check with him.
I think we should have the discussion
I
anyway.
think Ben's right. I think
If
we
we-
did mention something about they were possibly looking at something there.
Mary Hoffman just walked in. You're on the
Yes.
P and Z commission.
Just thought of that.
Did you guys talk about data centers in our ordinance yet or not?
Talk about,
Data centers?
no, we have not.
Okay, thank you.
So, no,
Uh-huh.
if you keep asking,
Yeah.
you might get the answer we want.
You remember?
I think that this is something we should keep on the front burner and can continue to look at.
Certainly on the front burner of the news.
What's on the front burner for environment. It's a
Everybody.
big deal. So,
Yeah, huge consumption of water.
Well, I had, Dan Marks had contacted too. A couple of us want to get together over the discuss the deputies' wages or whatever, like we did last year, but we didn't appoint nobody. I took it upon myself last year to do it, but I thought we did. If we're gonna do something, we gotta appoint.
That was just
appoint.
since they would like to basically just be able to talk. That's all it's boiled down to.
But we gotta. It's the board's decision who they send, I guess, so we'd have to put it on the agenda.
I think once we get a little closer to budget time, that might be the appropriate time to do that.
we've done that in the past. Are we willing to do it again?
Yeah, we did it last year.
Yeah.
All I did was just
Some things that were going on, I took it upon myself and did it, but probably would have to bring it to the board first this year, because kind of back to normalcy here.
Yeah, mine said it's nice to get a little bit of, before we get into January, it's nice to know a little bit ahead of time, just some general ideas. December gets crazy.
We put that on the agenda.
Yep.
Did you want to
Feel free
share,
to take down more chairs back there if you want.
did you want to share those ideas on that help?
Well, I just thought that, I mean, our balance has been maintaining, going up a little bit or going down, but basically we've been maintaining since we increased we had this year. And so this might be a good year if you want to put some extra into the health insurance fund, either this year or budget for it next year, because your supplemental fund, which funds the health insurance, is the one that also was funding the 911 towers. So that levy rate will be coming down some next year anyway. So if you don't take it down all the way, but you leave a little bit extra in there for the health insurance fund. So I was thinking like maybe a one-time, like $1,000 per employee or something, put in there once to get that balance back up. Yeah. Whether it's 1,000 or 2,000 or something like that. I mean, you have about 130 employees, so you know,
Be nice to see it get back up to
Yeah.
about 500.
Yeah. So that might be something we can do since we're in a good year on the supplemental rate anyway to help that fund some
We just got
without actually just increasing
the
the.
last smaller payment of the 911 left this year.
Yeah, actually, no, we did, we paid
Oh,
it.
yeah, we did that.
We paid that, so that's done. So that's 900,000 that we're gonna come out. So if we take,
250 or something.
if we're gonna do 1,000 per employee or 2,000 per employee,
I would say two.
one time, that'd give us 260,000 about extra in there to help with that.
Get it back up
balance.
over 500 or
And
whatever.
that history showing us that probably a wide move.
I think that's probably a good way to stabilize that without having to try to do it through your insurance rates each year and adding to that always just a one-time, put some money in there.
We can do that without raising taxes.
Right.
Or tax levy.
It'll be you won't be lowering them
Increasing it
as much as you might,
Could.
yeah, but you won't have to raise them.
It's not an increase either.
So that might be a good way to stabilize that. And so I've talked with Lynn a little bit about how we can do that through the payroll system, like a one-time shot to do it. So
So keep in the back.
Because that one's at almost 700, I think.
yeah, we were
4 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that issue.
I think part of our, it's always hard to increase the tax rates, so we were the 900,000 for the towers. We didn't want to hit the supplemental extra. And so that one year when there was no raise from no cost increase from the insurance company, we did $20 a month or something. We should have done a little more that year just to kind of keep up with the, yeah. So, but that's, hindsight is 20/20. So you don't, afterwards, you wish maybe you would have, but.
Next item on the agenda, Larry Weber and Bob Watson, with statewide water monitoring. Good morning.
Good morning. Larry Weber is the Edwin B. Chair in Hydraulics, Professor of Civil and Environmental Engineering, and the Director of the ISAC. You want to go science? Engineering. He is also the Director of the Center for Hydrologic Development and the Interim Director of the Iowa Flood Center. I appreciate you guys letting us have Larry come and speak this morning. And with that, Dr. Larry Weber.
Thanks, Bob. Is there a way for me to advance the slides or is?
I think it's gonna have to be someone there using it, or maybe saying it and the IT can do it.
Really? Just
Let me know when you're ready to advance.
Okay, one. So thank you for allowing me to be here today and share with you a little bit about our water quality monitoring network. As Bob mentioned in the introduction, I'm the director of the IHR Hydroscience and Engineering program at the University of Iowa. And that's a program that began in 1920. So we've been in this business of water resources and fluid mechanics for about 105 years. And just some notable projects of the last couple years. We did the hydraulic design and analysis of the Thames Tideway Tunnel for the city of London, England. It's the largest stormwater system ever built in the world. Designed the stormwater system in Abu Dhabi. We recently, in the last 2 years, completed the design of the stormwater system for Ellicott City in Maryland. They had 2,000-year floods in less than 18 months with loss of life. We're currently doing work for the stormwater design for Newtown Creek, which is a borough of New York City. So we do work internationally, we work across the country. And prior to 2008, about 99.99% of our work was done outside of the state of Iowa. And 2008, with the floods of Eastern Iowa, that changed, where the Iowa legislature understood that this world famous institute here at the University of Iowa could serve Iowans as well. And so we received a request from the Iowa legislature in December of 2008 to submit a proposal to the Iowa legislature to form some kind of research program around flooding for the state of Iowa. And myself and Vitek Krajewski submitted a proposal to form the Iowa Flood Center. So that was created in the 2009 legislative session. It was funded in the first year from Rebuild Iowa Infrastructure Funds and the one-year appropriation. You might remember back to 2008-9, we were in a state, national, and worldwide economic recession. Plus, the state of Iowa was trying to recover from the fourth largest natural disaster in U.S. history, a roughly $10 billion flood that we had, more than a $10 billion flood. So the Iowa Flood Center.
Just interrupt just for a second. Can you hear it all in the back?
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm sorry. We don't have microphones. You want to sit there and kind of face them a little bit.
So the Iowa Flood Center was formed then in 2009. And we've been successfully doing work to help support Iowans in flood recovery and flood mitigation since then. And through a couple of different HUD-related projects, or U.S. Housing and Urban Development, we've done watershed work to try to reduce flooding during heavy rainfall and improve water quality year round. With the success, and if we could go to the next slide, of the Iowa Flood Center, I teamed up with faculty at Iowa State University in 2013, and the Iowa Nutrient Research Center was created jointly by the University of Iowa and Iowa State University. And sometimes, we think about the competition on the athletic fields between the two institutions, but academically and scientifically, we work together a lot on scientific issues related to Iowa. So the Iowa Nutrient Research Center was formed in 2013. It's currently funded on fertilizer tax. The University of Iowa's awarded research funds in that program through individual proposals that we write to the Iowa Nutrient Research Center, as well as we received $500,000 a year of funding directly from the Nutrient Research Center to run a water quality monitoring network. The Flood Center in IIHR, the Nutrient Center in IIHR, we have over 600 sensors in Iowa that are monitoring stream flow, soil moisture, soil temperature, depth to shallow groundwater, scientific grade rain gauges, as well as water quality sensors. The water quality sensors happen to be funded through the Iowa Nutrient Research Center state appropriation until 2023, when the Iowa legislature chose to defund the Nutrient Research Center by $500,000, which happened to be the amount that was sent to the University of Iowa. In that first year, the Iowa Nutrient Research Center director, Matt Helmers, chose to implement a cut across his entire program by 33%. So everybody across the program was cut. In the following year, in FY24, he indicated to us that they would be cutting us completely from their program. And so they did that. That year, in working with the Walton Family Foundation, we were able to receive bridge funds from the Walton Family Foundation to keep the water quality network up and running through July of 2026. But the Walton Family Foundation made it very clear to us that that would be bridge funding alone and only, and not to support the network indefinitely throughout the future. And so we're currently in the process of working to find funding to keep this network up and running. I've met with Polk County Board of Supervisors, met with Lynn County Board of Supervisors up here to meet with you folks today. I'll be meeting with Johnson County here in about 2 weeks, and then we're trying to schedule something with Dubuque County. The network consists currently of about 70 real-time continuous water quality monitoring stations. 53 of those are run by the IHR program, 8 by the USDA ARS, and those 8 are located on research farms run by USDA, so not a statewide deployment, but a very localized deployment in the South Fork of the Iowa River. And then the USGS also operates about 10 sensors throughout Iowa. So from a statewide perspective, we have the 53 that we run and 10 from the USGS. Our network alone was 70 prior to the state funding cut. So we used to have about 90 in the state. We're currently down to 70. We'd like to get that network fully up and operational again, back to 90. Of the network, about a third of the sensors are located around the perimeter of Iowa to monitor the nitrate load leaving the state as part of our obligation to the Gulf Hypoxia Task Force and the nutrient reduction strategy of reducing nutrients leaving the state of Iowa. About a third, another third, are located in key watersheds where we as a state have invested significant resources in agricultural conservation practices, so we can measure the benefit of those practices at that small watershed scale and use that information to inform future investments in Iowa conservation programs. And then about another third, or the last third, is to monitor the inlet and outlet of those conservation practices so we can get the scientific data on the nutrient reduction through wetlands and bioreactors and saturated buffers, as well as for new practices that could be implemented by farmers across the state, things like 2-stage ditches and grass waterways, and also looking just at our county roadway ditches as a nutrient removal practice. And so think about the network in those thirds: direct practices, small watershed where there's concentrated practices that have been supported by IDALS or USDA, and then the final third being the load leaving the state of Iowa. Next one, please. Oh, thank you, actually.
I didn't change it.
Oh, okay. There's a history of where, oh. Can you go back one? A history of where the funding has come from. We've gotten funding from a number of different National Science Foundation grants, but the key funding here has been in 2 parts. One has been through the Iowa legislature. They provided $750,000 to buy sensors at the time of the formation of the Iowa Nutrient Research Center, as well as through our 2 programs in the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. We led the effort for the state of Iowa in a first HUD program that brought $8.8 million into the state, where we worked in the Turkey River. We worked there, implemented conservation practices up here in Northeast Iowa, put sensors and equipment out to monitor the effectiveness of those practices. And that led to a second proposal that we called the Iowa Watershed Approach Project, where the University of Iowa and IHR and myself led the activity to write the proposal for the state of Iowa in the National Disaster Resilience Competition, where $1 billion were available to entities that were recovering from disasters in the 2011, 12, and 13 disaster years. Our proposal was the 4th largest funded in that program, and we received $96.9 million to bring to Iowa to build these practices. $40 million went into concrete structures and traditional gray stormwater management projects, and about $40 million went into conservation practices, where we built 800 practices in 8 watersheds in Iowa. In the upper Iowa, we spent about $4 million on practices and built about 40 different practices here in the upper Iowa. Farm ponds, reconnected wetlands were built, and another $1.5 million in monitoring and technical services to get those projects built. Next. You may have heard just a few weeks ago, Polk County passed a county resolution to provide $200,000 of funding towards our goal of reaching 600,000 is what we need to run the network on an annual basis. We're very delighted with Polk County's leadership in that way. Polk County is the largest county with over 600,000 people in their county that use surface water as the source water for the drinking water system. And so they've stepped forward. You may have heard their water utility forced a water curtailment in the city of Des Moines this summer because of high nitrate levels for about 7 or 8 weeks. And so Polk County has stepped forward with $200,000 towards our $600,000 goal. We also have the Isaac Walton League has formed a GoFundMe page. We're very pleased and delighted by that. They've raised over $17,000 of reported donations that would cover at least 2 sensors and have a couple other large gifts that I believe are in process or underway. Next one, please. The sensors themselves, we deploy Nitrotech nitrate sensors. That's the silver sort of medium height sensor there, a very robust sensor that gets deployed. All of our sensors are deployed in late March or early April. They operate all season long. We pull them in about this time of year, usually starting in mid-November to early December. They get brought back into the laboratory. Each site costs about $35,000 to have deployed. And with the winter freeze up of ice in our streams in the winter, we can't afford to have them out in the winter and have losses due to ice breakup or freezing. We bring them back in, we service them, we get them recalibrated as needed. So that's a Nitrotech sensor. We also run an OTT water quality sonde that measures dissolved oxygen, temperature, conductivity, pH. That's the taller white sensor. And the next one, and go again. We have our own, should be one more. Yeah.
There we go.
We have our own way of communicating that data. So these sensors are located, they're all off grid. We don't have to have gridded power to plug in or the internet. We have a small solar panel to charge, a deep cycle battery, a charge regulator, a GPS unit that puts a timestamp on the data, and then a cell modem inside a box, as you see, that communicates the data back to the laboratory every 15 minutes. So this is real-time continuous information. Most of the sensors are co-located with USGS stream gauges that estimate river discharge. We measure concentration. That gives us the ability to calculate the nitrate concentration, the load of nitrogen in pounds per day, week, month, or year, as well as other products that we calculate. Next one. This is the Upper Iowa. We currently have 5 water quality sensors here, again, in part because of the Iowa Watershed Approach Project. Has allowed us to really come in here and focus in a watershed where a lot of activity has happened over the past couple of years. But in also a very unique geological part of the state of Iowa, the driftless area, which you enjoy and are so proud of, is also unique to Iowa in the fact that it has fairly thin topsoils, very fractured bedrock, and a very strong surface water to groundwater connectivity. And so oftentimes what happens on the land surface is very quickly moved to the stream. But this information system is unlike anything else in the world. With all of the hydrologic data and information of rainfall, stream flow, soil moisture, soil temperature, depth of shallow groundwater, along with water quality, it allows us to calculate things like the total load of nitrogen passing a sensor in a week, and then divide that by the row crop acres in the watershed and determine a nitrate loss per acre per week, or a nitrate loss per acre per year. And that helps us to normalize data from the Upper Iowa, which is a fairly small watershed, to watersheds as large as the Des Moines River, the largest watershed in the state of Iowa. This is important to have scientific-based information for us to make decisions on how our water quality is either degrading or improving. This one. We publish our work. Our work gets published in scientific papers. It's peer-reviewed. So it goes out into the review process and then scrutinized by other scientists in the area. We here have published papers both on the performance of those conservation practices as well as on the overall load leaving the state of Iowa. Next one. This is just one recent example in the Middle Cedar watershed where we're looking at saturated waterways. We would like to get this certified as an adopted practice for farmers to be able to use through the nutrient reduction strategy. And once it becomes a certified practice, then it's available for cost share, which is very important to make sure that we're able to get these practices on the ground. You know, these saturated waterways do not provide an agronomic benefit to the landowner. And so we think that there should be a public investment in those kinds of practices, and having the scientific data to show that is very important to getting those practices certified. Next one. We're also working on advanced technologies. This is a new startup company that's been exploring doing nitrate measurements nationwide through satellite-based remote sensing. They had claimed success by doing this on the lower part of the Mississippi River. And if you know nitrate concentrations in our rivers and streams, the lower Mississippi has very low concentrations, but a large discharge, so the load is fairly high, and it changes very slowly over the seasons. And so claiming success on the Mississippi River didn't impress me very much. And so I invited them to come to Iowa, and they've deployed their equipment at 2 of our sensor locations in Iowa, and are still working on trying to tweak and tune and validate and improve their equipment. And so we'll see if that becomes a technology that has value or not. Next one. We're also currently working with and submitted a proposal to NASA, who also has an interest in doing satellite-based remote sensing. But their interest is, if you think about this, where we have the National Weather Service that provides stream flow forecasts for us during the times of floods and droughts and all year long, NASA is interested in creating water quality forecasting. So not just doing the measurements that we're doing today, but also providing forecasts that will be, you know, perhaps as long as a week to 10 days, allowing water utility operators in Des Moines to switch from the Raccoon to Des Moines, or switch from surface water to shallow groundwater, deep groundwater in terms of sourcing. We think that water quality forecasting is going to be very important to us in the future. Next one. And so tap that again. Monitoring matters, and tap it about 3 or 4 times. Again, these are some of the papers and some of the articles. Next one. Again, that have come out recently. The water quality, and one more, is degrading in Iowa. There's no question about that. I've been in this science and profession for 35 years. And if I think back to just the year 2000, 25 years ago, our water quality in this 25-year period is degraded. We have concerns about that. If we continue on this path by 2050, we will have very serious problems with water quality in Iowa. And so I think we've got to start having the scientific conversation about what our state should be doing in this broader area of water quality. Next one. And so our hope is to continue the statewide network with Polk County's contribution of $200,000. When I met with their board of supervisors, I made it explicit to them that that is not to fund sensors in their watershed, but it's a contribution to our statewide effort. We want to make sure that we're providing equal access to water quality information across the state. The same request has been made to Lynn County and will be made to Johnson County. We certainly know that the counties are not flush with cash. So these come at very difficult decisions to make from a funding perspective. But should it be in the interest of Winneshiek County to provide some support for our network, we would certainly very much appreciate that. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Do you think there's going to be any advancement at the legislature to get funding returned by the state?
You know, as I told people in the counties, what I hope, whatever we do with the counties, is simply a bridge to go back to the state legislature. I think if this is a statewide network, it should be funded by the Iowa legislature. I think with what had happened this summer, especially in Des Moines with the water curtailment, there's been a lot of discussion around the state about getting it moved back. Whether that happens this spring or not, I have no idea. But certainly I'll have those conversations with legislators that would like to talk about it. In the case of Polk County, their commitment to us is for funding that begins on July 1st of 2026 and would go for the next state fiscal year, county fiscal year. If the Iowa legislature would decide to come back and refund the network in the spring, then certainly we could revisit that commitment with Polk County as to whether or not they would continue on with those resources. But I do know that Polk County and Lynn County and Johnson have mentioned this as well. This was a good time to be asking those counties for funds because they were in the budgetary process of thinking about FY27 in their budget. So we'd certainly love to go back to Polk County and say thanks, but you know, the Iowa legislature did step up and we're no longer in need of those funds. But
Very great program. Thanks for coming out. Question I got, you mentioned earlier on that some of the monitors provide data based on monitoring conservation practices like bioreactors, saturated buffers and so forth. Does some of those practices also include like cover crops and minimum tillage and so forth?
yeah, so we're working, you know, again, in the concept and, you know, regenerative agriculture is really, you know, taking off in Iowa. We see a lot happening there. Most of the time, what we're doing is we're putting nested sensors in a watershed so that we're able to go from fairly small, almost down to the hill slope, but not quite, areas to slightly larger, to slightly larger, to slightly larger, to see where the adoption of those practices is having a significant benefit. We've done some numerical modeling. Now, again, modeling, you know, our modeling is very scientifically based, but we've done simulations that show that if we go to bringing some small grains back into our rotations along with cover crops, that alone can reduce nutrient and nitrate runoff by about 35 to 40%. But it takes 100% adoption in the watershed to achieve those goals. So we're certainly working in that domain as well.
What are you seeing in the readings on the upper Iowa sensors?
Yeah, so right now, you know, we're in, depending on, we've got a couple of tributaries. I just looked this morning, they're at about 8 milligrams per liter. The main stem is about 5 to 6 here over the last couple of weeks. You know, in the spring, we saw some very high levels. You know, we had some pretty good saturated soil conditions and we had a lot of tile drainage running, although this isn't as heavily tiled as, you know, some parts of the state of Iowa was. But we were well above 20 milligrams per liter for some short periods of time.
What is the level 10 is what you're shooting for? Or
Well, again, the EPA water quality standard is 10 milligrams per liter, but that's for drinkable. Okay, and so we're not claiming or suggesting that anybody go out and just drink, you know, water out of our streams. But I do think that when we look at it over the context of time, you know, and the studies that were done, and they're sparse, granted, but the studies that were done in the 30s and 40s would show that our nitrate concentrations were naturally occurring in the 0.5 to 1 milligram per liter. And then in the 70s, as we started using more commercial fertilizer in the production system, we went from this 0.5 to 1 milligram per liter to sort of 3 to 4 milligrams per liter. And you know, seeing levels that are well above, you know, 20 milligrams per liter, you know, throughout the state. Again, episodically for short periods of time, not all season by any means, but for extended periods of time. And so it's that it's that progression that I think is concerning.
Steve Hopkins, retired non-point source coordinator for Iowa DNR, now living in Winneshiek County. I know we've known each other a long time. I'm curious if the data that are collected would be considered credible data. And I think you're aware that for waters to either become impaired or be removed from the impaired waters list, it requires that there be credible data according to the Iowa's credible data law. And that's important not only for funding new watershed project work, but also to help gauge whether there's improvement through watershed work. So if you could talk about which of the data are considered credible, I'd be curious about that.
Yeah, so we use the same protocols that the US Geological Survey does for their sensors. So we do, grab samples to validate the sensors during the year. We bring the sensors in, we provide maintenance to them each winter. We send some off for recalibration. We have PhD level scientists that are doing the benchtop analysis. And so they are credible data. And, as much as we appreciate the citizen science work, that's good work that's happening out in the state. Sometimes, that data can be an indicator, but would not be considered credible data. And so we are still very high academic and scientific standards.
Larry, I don't know if my name is Jody, Spurlag. I've
been a few
connected with
years,
you. Yeah, seen you speak several times, but first, just so deeply grateful for your approach, your attention to science and data, and also collaboration. And I just want to thank you for coming up here to share and request funding to keep this operational. Clearly, it's something that is a gem in Iowa and beyond Iowa. So I just want to, I kind of want to turn this question back to the supervisors, given this major report that came out, led by the PNC and funded by the supervisors, about what Winneshiek County residents care about in terms of natural resources. So the results were very clear. 95% identified water as the top clear priority. And 90% indicated it should be supported, and 80% said they're willing to do trade-offs to support water quality in Winneshiek County. And so I think that is a really strong statement. This was rural, urban, didn't matter. People care about water here. It's also tied to our economy. And we manage what we monitor, period. It doesn't matter what it is, we manage what we monitor. So I'm curious, from the supervisor's perspective, agree that there's limited funding everywhere for everything. But this is something that Winneshiek County residents have clearly spoken on. So I'm hoping that we could consider helping out as a bridge until the legislature can get back on its feet with this, which I do think will happen, because the issues are not going away and people really care about water. I just got a phone this morning, this is coincidental, with a woman from Minnesota, Austin, who shared with me, we think about blue baby syndrome as being an old thing. Yeah, her baby would have been 28 years old. They moved to a farm, and when they tested after the death, they said this is the amount of nitrate that would kill a cow. And so that's 28. This is in range of when my kids, my age, and the kids of my kids' age. And so it matters. It matters for environment, and the people have spoken on that. So I hope that it can be evaluated against the other priorities that are clearly there, but that this one can definitely be in the running. So thank you, Larry.
I'm on the Turkey Valley Watershed Board. And I don't know if you guys did study or not, but Upper Iowa River is one of the cleanest in the state. They did that study they did when they presented it at not the last meeting, but the meeting before, was the only contamination they found was coming out of the city of Decorah in their monitors. It had nothing to do with farmers. That came right from, that was a state test. Absolutely true.
Not true.
Well, that's what they told us at the meeting.
We have data.
They give us slides. And I don't know what they were testing for,
We're
but that's where the test was.
not gonna get into an argument over that.
To be clear, this isn't a battle between urban and
Larry,
rural.
thank you. It was a very good presentation.
Yep.
Presentation.
Appreciate
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
That's 10:30. Next item on the agenda, Andy Vandermark, the county attorney. Good morning, Andy. What do we got for us today?
Did you adopt records policy?
Yes.
Okay. That was all I had on my list.
Okay.
Hearing that, we got it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, piggybacking on that, Steve came up with an idea. Do you want to present it to Andy? On the
Which one?
The
Training, public record,
meetings training?
open meetings.
Thank you. That record is, of course, with our FOIA requests. But on the open records training for this state law now provides for newly elected or newly appointed. And we put together a policy so that all of our department heads, all of the important people that would fall within that, including existing board and commission members, go through the same training so that we get this more of a, we catch it all at one time rather than.
Yeah, I hear where you're going. I want to think through that, but yes, we should be able to do that. The other thing that I'm wondering, and maybe I can visit with Lynn, or Ben can visit with Lynn about the policy that you adopted, should be reviewed by every department head and elected official also, so that they're familiar with what the policy is currently. I think we should be able to do that through the portal, shouldn't we? This, in my mind, that's something we should be getting on the way to, so that we're, it gets implemented, rolled out correctly. Let me think through the other aspect of that, because depending on what our training is going to be and where it's coming from, if for example, it's a recorded type of thing, which I wouldn't be surprised if Public Information Board put something out, or Iowa State or ISAC or somebody. Again, new hires, new appointments could go into the portal and watch the training and check that box that that's part of their onboarding process.
Yeah, having the record keeping to know who did and who didn't.
Exactly.
The boards and commissions people aren't in part of the portal book. That's a employee portal. But we could maybe create something or have something.
I'll pick on Tony, but let's just say that he has a new person on board of adjustment. He could go into the portal and verify that that person has
some way to record that.
recorded.
And I think Steve's point is, if we're getting this organized for the new people, we might as well make sure we get the existing ones
On the same.
so they have the same information.
Because when we took that training, Barb and Krista were both here that day. And they've changed their policies on how they're doing their meetings now too, so.
Yeah.
And getting the information out to them is probably the more important part than having the certification, because only the new people have to have this paper or whatever, this record that they've taken, and at least making sure everyone has a chance to learn it is important.
I think when it comes to commissions and so forth that fall within the access portion of it, our ability, since we now have it, of being able to record, I think we should probably extend that beyond. So that the other commissions that would fall in those open meetings, or we have some record of it.
The presentation you guys had back in June or whenever, May or June, wasn't a certified training because the law hadn't taken effect at that point, and it wasn't part of the requirement, but you guys were required to do it because of the other legal things. But even just having other commissions watch that recording would be beneficial, even if it isn't a certified training.
can give me a copy of the resolution from today. When I reach out to Alex and point out that this has been adopted, and I think our end of things should be finished on this agreement, I will ask him if there is anything in the works to comply with state code for that their office is putting out for these trainings. And if we can take a look at that, see if there's other resources, ISAC, said Iowa State sometimes gets involved in these things. If we could find a program that we can adopt and use, that to me would make some sense for new hires, newly elected, and new appointees.
And if we can find that kind of training available on an online basis or something, the same problem is existing in the city councils of our incorporated towns. And I heard that one city wanting to comply had an attorney group come in and teach them for $250 a person. So these cities are not looking for that.
No.
Saying it like it's a bad thing somehow, Steve.
Nothing against attorneys.
I mean, I think we should be able to find something or create something that is acceptable.
Well, they're gonna have to put out some type of program with the amount of people that they have to. That has to go through there.
99 counties and how many municipalities, they're not gonna be able to do them on an individual one-on-one basis.
No, it's not a bad idea to go through that process. I do know between the two training sessions I watched, there were a couple things that were inflections. Instead of one way one time and a different way the next time, and I'm kind of. So,
That's the other reason.
it wasn't major issues, but it was just some of the small ones.
I think that's the other reason that having a recorded training lets us go back and say, look, this is what was put in.
Well, and the Iowa Public Informational Board can look at their recording and, well, we're gonna change that just a little bit, and then by the time they send it out, they're gonna get the same presentation. Sure. That's up to them.
Do you want Andy to stay for this closed session discussion, or do you have questions about it, or do you want to circle back with him later?
I can stay.
All right, well, next item on the agenda here, we'll run a little late.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Second, to go into closed session, discuss sale of property authorized under Iowa Code 2151J. All those in favor? Aye.
Fatima, could you pause the open session recording and
US National.
2024. In layers. Is your layers tab open?
It must be under layers. I can find it.
Under.
It's a lot easier to change your layers on a computer. Because it's, there's a list on the left side and you can click things. There you go.
You found it.
You need a bigger screen.
I got it. US.
Yeah, I moved to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for adjournment. All
All
those
those
in
in
favor,
favor.
say aye.
Hi. Thank you.
It's not like I haven't forgotten also.
I'm gonna run up and grab a flash drive.
Okay.
So I can
Thank
save
you.
that thing.
It's on, you gotta have to pull.
I know I just got this congestion down here. I don't have any symptoms other than
Do
congestion.
you want to leave this table here like this? It's
I think
Sure.
Did it help you guys to spread out more?
Yeah, it gives me a little more room so I'm not kicking
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, I probably end up-
Okay.
probably need to end up
Leave it.
moving it down this way to catch the camera and that end. You may have to come this way about so far.
I think
We're locked in.
would you want to go to that deal on West Union on Wednesday? I can do the count.
I think I'm gonna try to go down to that, to double check.
And it is not a certified
It's
one
not a
because
certified.
they couldn't get certification for
So
this.
if you want to
yet.
go for the whole thing, you can. I will take your place at the count.
On which,
Canvas.
Wednesday.
This is Wednesday, 9:30 coffee and
This.
networking. I
This
can
one.
make you a copy of this if you'd like.
If you're going, you can just take this one. I'll do your count.
yeah, I think that's the regional workshop.
Yep.
Yeah, at 11 o'clock. That's the one in West Union.
Yeah.
10 a.m.
It starts at 10 and then the afternoon is the one that you were
Economic
interested in besides, so.
Yeah, we got the election review at 9:30.
So I could do that for you if you want to take the one the following week for me. Then Tuesday.
The next one's the following Tuesday. Yeah, we could swap off more.
There you go.
Okay.
Do you want a copy of these?
What is that?
The public health thing.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, Tuesday, yeah, same time.
So I'll talk to Ben about coming for the certification at 9:30. Then you can go to that.
Yeah, this, this one has, I think I think that's a good event.
I think for your city stuff, that would be a good one.
I'm gonna be going to it too.
It doesn't count for official training, so.
No.
I'm gonna do the,
This will
I'm
probably be
curious,
the fourth open meeting
That's good.
workshop, but
I gotta go ask Paul Red. I'm curious if they pay any taxes at Wellington or not, just like Ozzy pays some.
I don't
I
know.
wonder,
It's a good thing to ask,
so do I
check into it.
check into it, just ask. If you look at the list of county-owned properties, it's pretty long. You scroll through pages. Some of it's not anything, some of it is. It's pretty long.
Goodbye.
I'm gonna stop the recording.
Okay, thank you, Fatima.